Hello, I'm Dave Rowland, Communications Director for the San Diego City Council. I'd like to welcome you back to Council Conversations, a series of in-depth chats with members of your City Council. So far, I've sat down with Council President Georgette Gomez and Council members Jennifer Campbell, Monica Montgomery-Stepp, Mark Kersey, and Barbara Bree. Going forward, I plan to talk with more members of the current City Council and hopefully some new members starting in December. We had an election in early November, and in that election, San Diegans voted in 5 people to take the place of 5 current members who are leaving office next month. Today, I'm joined by Councilmember Chris Cate. Mr. Cate represents District 6, which includes the communities of Claremont Mesa, Kearny Mesa, Mira Mesa, Sorrento Valley, Rancho Penasquitos. Elected way back in 2014, he'll be the longest serving council member next year and is the chair currently of the council's Economic Development and Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Councilmember Cate, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Thanks for having me.
So how are you and your family doing? How has this crazy year gone for you? We're now in, I think, month 8 of this pandemic.
It's been interesting. We had our son, he was actually born on the day that the governor issued his stay-at-home order, and on March 11th. And it was interesting because we can now tell him when he's older, he can understand that the world literally stopped on the day that he was born.
Oh, that's
yeah. So, but it's been, interesting, fortunate for us. Our daycare has remained open. We have a small in-home daycare that we take my daughter to as well too. That is, a lot of the parents are essential employees, so she's been able to stay open. So we've been fortunate that we've been able to take our children to daycare while we've worked from home, and haven't really missed a beat in that regard. So we don't have, our kids are school age, so we're not doing distance learning or anything like that for our children. But suffice to say that we've been very fortunate in that regard and getting through it. And the only other big challenge has been there are some members of our family that haven't seen and met our son yet, just because they're older and whatnot. So that's been, I guess, the biggest hurdle and challenge, and that is that there are some members of our family that haven't met our son yet.
So you famous elected officials are just like us.
We are, yes, we are. We have to, we want to take the same precautions and all that. So we're, it's been challenging, but we're getting through it.
So but once these family members finally meet your son, it'll just be that much more momental.
Yeah. And luckily, we know with technology and FaceTime or Zoom and all this stuff, even other family members, do our family Zoom happy hours or calls on the weekend or whatnot. So they're able to see him, but I think everyone's really anxious to meet him and to hold him. Like whether they're other baby in your family, you're gonna want to hold them and gravitate towards that love. And so, but luckily, we're all able to meet virtually our son.
And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, I made up a new word just then, momental. I meant to. So it's a momentous day for the English language.
There you go.
Let's take.
It works.
So also the effects of the pandemic on your work. I know that I see that on social media you really involve your staff in things. That's probably something you would do normally and probably had been doing. But I've noticed that that it involves things surrounding the pandemic and the effects on local businesses and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've always tried to have an office that really resonate with volunteering. A lot of our staff have come from the nonprofit world, and so that volunteerism kind of moniker and stigma and kind of what we're about is try to carry through our term. But with the pandemic, I think there's so much more opportunity, and whether you're trying to do things related to hunger or whatever else, we've tried to step in that role and increase it to the extent that we can. and volunteer and help out, whether it's our local churches or schools that are doing food distributions, or any of our healthcare providers that we have some local healthcare centers in Mira Mesa. We try to help out. We're just trying to do what we can to lend a hand and help where we can. But it's something that has increased a little bit in the last 8 months, because there's just so much opportunity that's out there that we're trying to take advantage of in terms of lending our support to those who are in need.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a step back. For those of us who might not know you too well, tell me a little bit about your background, starting with where you grew up.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in San Diego. When my parents divorced when I was 6, I I lived with my mom, and we moved around a lot. Moved around a lot in North County, and graduated from high school at La Costa Canyon, which is in Carlsbad. Moved to Claremont after that, went to school at the University of San Diego, and got my degree in political science. While I was in college, a high school buddy and myself started a small business right off Convoy. We specialized in auto glass replacements and windows and door glass and things like that. So I did that for my time in college, and then went to DC for an internship program my last semester in college, and thought I was going to stay out there and work in DC and be on the Hill and maybe watching one too many West Wing episodes and the like. But suffice it to say, a San Diego boy out in DC cannot handle the weather. So I came back to San Diego and just worked on some campaigns, but really got involved in the public policy world. I spent on and off 7.5 years working for an organization called the San Diego County Taxpayers Association, doing public policy research and advocacy work. And I say on and off, I took a short stint for about a year and worked for then City Council member Kevin Faulkner. And I was his director of policy and worked with him when he was chair of the audit committee for the city of San Diego. So I got a flavor of the city and how it functions and how it works. And then this seat opened up in 2014. It was a new seat that was drawn because we had to add a 9th council seat at that time. And this seat became known as the API seat. Over 35% of this district is Asian American, and being of Filipino descent, we worked really hard to try to ensure that we had a representative who was on the council who represented the district, and my representing Mira Mesa, which is very heavily Filipino American, I think lend to that. And we're proud to be serving and have served for the last 6 years, and it's gone by in a flash, I'll tell you that.
All right, so the core values that have driven you, where do they come from? So were there particular times or events in your life that shaped who you would become and how you would approach your role in public service?
Yeah, it comes from my parents and my family. I mean, my great-grandfather served in the Navy, was awarded the Navy Cross during World War II and the Battle of the Solomon Islands. And that kind of came down from there. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, served in the Navy as well too. He was a pilot, and then my paternal grandfather came to the U.S. through the Navy, coming from the Philippines. And so I think that service, and with my dad as well too. My dad was 27 years as a highway patrolman, and public service was in that blood. My mom as well too is just a tremendously hard worker. So I think I get my work ethic from her, because she had me when she was 17, had to work through all of that, didn't go to college, even though she was more than capable and able. She had to raise a son. And so really, she worked incredibly hard, and actually had my brother and my sister as well too. And just about 2 years ago now, went back to school to get her degree in biomedical engineering. So she's a lot smarter than I am, but she really was determined to go back and get her degree, and she's working now, has a great job in the kind of biotech space. So that service and hard work definitely comes from my family. And then me now having my family, I think it kind of, you realize why you work so hard and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to provide for your family. And they've been really a motivating factor for me. My wife is, thankfully, she is extremely supportive of my work and what I want to do and why I do this. And even since running for office, which is definitely a family affair, she's been nothing but supportive of me and wanting to do that. So it's been tremendous just to have that family unit. That's been very motivating for me and why I'm doing this.
That's great. And so when you ran for office, what were your priorities coming in?
Yeah, so we've maintained those priorities since we ran. We went to voters and said we have 4 key issues we want to focus on. We want to focus on public safety. We want to focus on infrastructure within our district. We want to focus on economic development and small businesses and civic engagement. So those have been really the 4 key pillars within our office, and everything we've tried to do from a proactive standpoint within our office has fallen under one of those 4 key pillars.
And as the last 6 years have unfolded, have any of those priorities shifted or evolved as the situation on the ground has changed? Or is it?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think some of it has, maybe shift in between those pillars. I think they've all been at the core, though. You could say, especially now from a real, dealing with the pandemic, a lot of our focus has been on kind of the small business civic engagement portion of it. It's no secret that small businesses are very much struggling during all of this. And so a lot of the work we've been doing is talking with our small businesses and saying, what can we do from a city to help you just a little bit more, and so that's why I think seen us be proactive in, okay, we want to open our outdoor space and our park spaces to those who could take advantage of that, or outdoor dining, which is, you'll see all along the Convoy Street corridor, a lot of the restaurant owners taking advantage of the outdoor dining because these are small business owners who are making it, who are, first, second generation owners in San Diego. And then, again, I go back to the civic engagement and trying to just be more engaged and more involved and having our neighbors take care of each other and help out in any respect. So, I think overall, those 4 key issues are constant priority, whether it's, public safety and our police and our firefighters and supporting them, our lifeguards supporting them, whether it's infrastructure and trying to increase the level of the quality of the infrastructure in our district, in our city. Those will always be priorities, but sometimes they just shift based on the time.
And of your accomplishments in the last 6 years, what are the things you're most proud of? Either things that you engineered yourself or that the council has done as a whole?
Yeah, I think from us, we've gotten some I think major policy victories, which has been great. We've amended our ordinance to change the way we regulate massage parlors. Sex trafficking is a huge issue within our region, and one of the main areas that occurs in is within massage parlors. And we've worked with stakeholders up and down the state, victim advocacy groups within San Diego to try to amend our ordinance and reshape how we regulate massage parlors. So that's, I think, was a big victory for us in getting that done. We started our police officer down payment assistance program. What we're seeing is that there's less than 30% of our police officers actually live in the city of San Diego, and we want officers who live and work in the neighborhoods they work. And so we started that program to help officers purchase homes in the city, which has been happening. And then I think from our standpoint in the nonprofit world, what we've done, we've been able to collect thousands of toys for our Toys for Tots event that we do each year. We've given out, nearly 1,000 Christmas trees to active duty and veterans, active duty military and veterans within our community through our Christmas tree program that we do every year. We volunteer. We've raised over $70,000 for various nonprofits, and so I think that work as well too is where you see the folks that you're actually working with and helping face to face has been extremely rewarding.
Yeah. And so you've talked a little bit about your district already. To me, your district is super interesting and super important, particularly Kearny Mesa, both culturally in what it, the richness, that it provides culturally and economically. And the council recently approved an updated community plan for Kearny Mesa. And I'd love to hear you talk about that community and its future.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've been working on since before we got elected. And you're right. I mean, the Convoy district is a phenomenal area, and one that was a diamond in the rough, I think you could say, because I think if you were from San Diego, you knew Convoy, right? You knew you were your favorite ramen spot or boba spot or whatever else. But we really try to shine a light on Convoy, not only throughout San Diego, but throughout the world, and working with the tourism authority to have this be a destination when people come to visit San Diego. And it all happened organically, which is even more exciting in that regard. So just people supporting that area, you've seen it really flourish. But with the community plan update, what we've been trying to do is make Convoy the next little Italy, and having people who were able to live on Convoy and go to celebrate and visit those restaurants and small businesses and those shops along Convoy. So that's the end goal. The way to get to that is through this community plan update and changing the zoning to allow for those homes to be built there. And then second, not really secondarily, but in conjunction with that, I mean, it's a huge economic center kind of east of the 163 with all those huge job centers that exist. And we're neighboring different freeways. We'll have the spurs off the blue line from when Midcoast comes online as well too. So having this area be right in the heart of San Diego just shows you the opportunity that exists to really capitalize on that live work village that we've been trying to aspire to as a city.
Yeah, I think the number is the new plan would accommodate something like 27,000
Yep.
homes,
and build out a population of nearly 70,000 people.
Right. So that's what you're trying to get at. You said live work. You're trying to get at that vibrant community where people can walk from their home to their favorite restaurant or whatever. And it's a more 24-hour sort of feel to it.
Absolutely. I think, it would be great to have, someone who lives on Convoy can walk to work or bike to work or whatever else, and then come home and then go to your favorite restaurant or your shop and really not have to leave Kearny Mesa at all. And I think that is what we're trying to take advantage of as a city and find these areas where, we can start getting people out of being, dependent upon their car to get to and from or wherever they're going, and have all those amenities right next to you. And that's what we've done based on our climate action plan that we've adopted and trying to reach those goals we've set. This is part of it, and the zoning and the land use has so much to do with that.
Yeah. And so are there things that have happened during your tenure on the council that you'll always remember, either because they're funny or strange or that they were just unexpected? In other words, like if you go to cocktail parties, back when we were able to do that sort of without getting yourself in hot water with anyone, what stories do you tell?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'll say it's maybe the weirdest thing, and maybe just weird for me and not weird for anybody else. But the one thing that's when I started, after I got elected, and you go through this time frame where people start noticing, who you are, and they just kind of look at you, and you're like, yes, that's me. But when I would go to like Target or the grocery store, and people will come up to me, oh, you're Councilmember Cate, right? Yeah. The first thing they do, not everyone, but most of them, they do is they look down and look inside your shopping cart. And for me, that's very personal. When you look in someone's shopping cart. And so I've had to get used to that and trying to maintain eye contact when people are trying to look down and see what you're buying. And it's like, yes, there's a lot of wine in there. Okay. It's okay. It's part of the job.
You do not need to know what kind of breakfast cereal your council member.
Exactly. Or what type of snacks or treats or whatever else. But luckily, it's a lot. Usually, it's San Diego beer that I'm purchasing that's in my shopping cart.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a marketing opportunity when you think about it.
Exactly. You gotta celebrate. Whether it's AleSmith or whoever else. Here you go.
All right. So if you could immediately change something about City Hall, I know everybody, government works at a very slow pace. It's hard to change anything quickly, but if there was something you could just change overnight about City Hall or San Diego in general, what would that be?
Yeah, I think, that's a good question. The fact that there's a lot to do. I think just in general, I think what I would say is, if we could be better at being responsive. I think that's the biggest thing is we are a large organization, 11,000 employees. We're the 8th largest city, in the country. And sometimes, that shows, which is, okay in that respect. But, when you're servicing, 1.4 million people, there is always expectation to be quick turnaround times and be responsive and, okay, fix this pothole or fix this street light or whatever else. And, that I wish we can be better and fix that and be more responsive, and maybe not even just fixing it quickly, but saying, okay, we hear you, we're right on it. Here's your timeline of when things can get done, and then meet those expectations. So that's probably the biggest thing, because we're a customer service business. And I've worked in retail, and that's really big for me, is trying to be responsive to the customer and trying to manage expectations and meet the expectations that you set for your customers.
Yeah. And of your departing colleagues, who will you miss the most, either because they're so fun to be around or they're great to work with?
Yeah, no, and it's I've had the pleasure of working with all of them, and it's been a lot of fun. And for some folks, maybe I haven't been able to work with them as long, just because they're out of their first term and they moved on. But for me, I've gotten to know folks outside of those chambers, which is good. But I used to sit between Councilmember Kersey and Councilmember Sherman. So it's kind of right in the middle of those two, and they're both leaving, and I've known them well before they actually got into office as well too. So I'll probably miss them the most, just because I spent the most amount of time with them and sat between them and crack jokes and all this stuff. And we didn't agree on everything, and that's okay. But I knew them outside. They know my family. I know their families, and go to different functions and events with them on a personal note. So for them, I'm probably gonna miss them the most. But I'll know I'll see them. But it was a lot of fun for the last 6 years sitting between them. And like I said, it goes by so fast.
And so you talked about cracking jokes. Who's the funniest member of the city council?
Mark is pretty funny. Mark is when he turns it on, he's pretty funny. I think everyone will remember him with the mic slap. I think he got so frustrated at one meeting, he just slapped the mic, and I think someone made a GIF. I don't know if someone actually at City Beat made a GIF out of it at one time. I don't know if it was Kelly or somebody, or maybe it might have been you.
Wasn't me.
Okay, I can't. But that was he's just fine. I don't know if he knows it, but he's hilarious. And then Scott is like your grumpy uncle who can crack jokes and be a wisecrack sometimes. But Mark's pretty clever and pretty witty.
All right, Mark Kersey is the class clown. Who's the most serious?
Oh gosh, most serious. Can it be anybody? If it's the party, I think Barbara, she's pretty serious. Chris Ward's actually pretty serious. He tries to be laid back and funny sometimes, but he's a pretty serious guy. And when he speaks and when he's talking, it's I think he's there for all business. So I appreciate that from him.
All right, fair enough. So just a couple of last questions, looking towards the future. what are you seeing going into your next year? There's going to be 5 new members on the council. How are you seeing the next couple of years, your last 2 years on council going?
Yeah, we have still a lot of work to do, and we're definitely not going to waste any days, and so a lot of stuff to get done, a lot of big projects that we're trying to get through, and some housing projects as well too that are going to be coming up for votes that are important for the region. And so we're still going to be pushing forward and trying to accomplish things the last 2 years. But I think my role now is with the 5 new members is really just trying to be an outlet for them. I just go back to remember when I was a new member, and a lot of it is kind of, deers in the headlights type of moments that could happen. And so for me, it's just be there as a resource. Luckily, I know a couple of them, but look forward to getting to know the other ones that I don't know as well. And just, again, offering that. I think, it's easy to see things on, whether it's TV or whatever else, that, there's this partisanship and all this thing and bickering. But, for me, I think there's a mutual respect there because of what they've gone through to be here, and me just respecting that and what they're trying to accomplish for their residents, and just do whatever I can to be there as a resource and to help them, and understanding that we're not going to agree on everything, and that's okay, but you can disagree without being disagreeable, and just offering that advice or help or direction, whatever I can do to make their time on the council a little bit easier to get the things they need to get done, accomplished.
Yeah, and I assume your policy priorities won't shift much in the last few years.
No, we'll still try to fix, those 4 pillars are still going to be important for us, and we're still going to try to do what we can within those 4 pillars. Just now we have, not as much time to do them. So luckily this year, with the community plan updates and the kind of housing projects that we've been working on for the last, 4 or 5 years, they've kind of come to their natural progression and end. We want to start some good stuff and hopefully accomplish those things before we leave. But, if we teed up for the next person, that's great as well too. But we knew going into this that we weren't going to solve all the problems, right? We weren't going to fix all the cures or cure all the ills of the city and our district, but we're going to take a big bite out of it. I think we've done that and are doing that. And we can be proud of what we have accomplished thus far and what we're going to be accomplishing in the next 2 years as well.
All right, last question. I know you're a big basketball fan. Do the Lakers repeat next year?
I think they can. You see a lot of movement in the East, with rumors of Harden going to Brooklyn. Bringing Dennis Schroeder on the Lakers, I think is a good move. I wasn't the biggest Danny Green fan. So I think they have the opportunity to do that, to repeat. I think the West is going to be a little bit lighter, and then the East will be a little more challenging than the West. And I think they make it through definitely the West and can get to the finals, and then just kind of whoever shows up in the East.
All right, so I don't think people expected to get nuanced basketball analysis.
You asked, man.
And with that, Councilmember Cate, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to chat with me.
Thanks for having me again.
And so I've been speaking with City Council Member Chris Cate. I'll be back soon with the next segment of this conversation series. Until then, please stay safe, stay sane, and goodbye for now.